You want to play D&D, you got yourself a group, you have a general idea of how the game works, and you even bought your own set of shiny math stones. Only one hurdle still remains. You have to make a character. Okay, let's do it. How hard can it be? Let's take a look at the player's handbook section on character creation. Okay, so we got a step-by-step, that's helpful. Races, classes, 165 pages? Welcome to Arcadian. Two of the hardest parts in D&D to grasp and two of the biggest boogeymen that discourage new players from jumping into this hobby are the rules of combat and character creation. And both are quite easy actually when you get to know them, but for anyone without experience, they are daunting enough to make you think, maybe this game is just too complicated for me. I'm here to say, no, stay where you are. Don't give up on this game yet. I will tell you how easy it is to create a D&D character. So easy, in fact, you could do it in 10 minutes. Let me show you. The first thing you will need when making a new character is the race. And though they call it a race in the book, it really is more like a species. You have your standard human, but also your most common fantasy tropes, elves, dwarves, and halflings, which are the please don't sue us version of hobbits from Lord of the Rings. You also have weirder, rarer racers like half-elves, half-orcs, dragonborn, which are dragonoid people, tieflings, which are humanoids with devil blood, and gnomes, who no one really knows what they're supposed to be. Now, you don't need to read each species section in the book at this point. Just pick the one that sounds the most appealing to you and go with it. Each species has a certain culture, a certain stereotype associated, and unique powers, but if you're interested in a particular species, go read that species section. And just like that, you turned 28 pages of reading into a mere 3 or 4. Once you have chosen your race, keep it in mind, we will need it later, but first we need to determine your class. Classes are like jobs, your fantasy stereotype, what you do. Gamers will have it easy in here because they are similar to most fantasy RPGs' character creation options. Once again, don't worry about reading the whole section. Just pick the one that sounds the most interesting to you and go read only that section. If you didn't like what you read, you can always go back, pick another one, and read again. But just by doing this, you reduce 75 pages of reading to about 5. Here's a quick summary for you, just so you can have a more informed decision rather than just simply looking at the index and seeing what sounds cool. Barbarians are walking tanks who fight with little to no armor with only their weapons and their fury. Bards are spellcasters who channel their magic through their music. Clerics are priests who draw powers from their gods to either heal or smite down enemies. Druids are wardens of nature. They use magic but can also transform into animals. Fighters are, as the name implies, warriors, soldiers, and masters of weapons. Monks are martial artists who channel ki from their punches. Paladins are warriors like fighters, but they also draw magical powers from their oath to a deity like clerics, which makes them a mix of physical fighter and magic user. Rangers are also half fighters, half magic users, but they are more tied to nature. Lone warriors that hunt wild creatures in the border of civilization. Rogues are thieves and assassins. And finally, sorcerers, warlocks, and wizards are all magic users. But while sorcerers were born with their powers, magic running through their bloodline, wizards got them to study with sages and ancient tomes. Think of it like this: Scarlet Witch is a sorcerer, Doctor Strange is a wizard. And warlocks, well, warlocks got their powers from a bargain they made with a godlike entity, like a powerful demon or a fairy queen, who unlocked the magic power in them, but demanded a price that must be paid. Although I say you should just choose whatever class seems more interesting to you, I would recommend you pick Barbarian, Fighter, Monk, or Rogue as your first class for D&D, just because they are not full spellcasters and they are easier to understand for new players. Although I said you should just choose whatever class seems more interesting to you, I would recommend you pick Barbarian, Fighter, Monk, or Rogue as your first ever class for D&D, because they are not full spellcasters and they are easier to understand for new players. If you really want some magic, you could always go for Paladin or for Ranger, which give you a little bit of taste of magic without being as complicated. Or you could even go with Warlock, who, despite being almost a full spellcaster, they have a much simpler system. Anyway, that's just a recommendation. Do what you must. After you have a race and a class, you can already visualize your character. You can picture how they look and also how strong they are, how agile, how smart, how confident, right? Then it's time to determine your character's ability scores. Ability scores are like your stats in a video game. You have 6 of them. Strength means how strong you are, dexterity measures your agility, constitution your build and vitality, intelligence is how smart you are, wisdom measures how good you are with your senses and intuition, and charisma represents your social presence and strength. There are essentially 3 ways to calculate your abilities, but I'll only talk about the easier 2. The easiest of all is just to use a standard array: 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8. Pick each number and assign it to one of the 6 abilities. The other way, which is more fun, requires you to roll for it. Pick 4 d6s, the 6-sided die, roll them, and then throw out the lowest number that you got. Sum the remaining 3 dice, and there you have it. It's one of your ability scores. Don't assign that number yet. Repeat this process 5 more times until you have 6 numbers, and only then you should assign them to each ability as you like. By the way, you should also look into the class section for recommendations on where to place your highest scores, because different classes use different abilities more than others. Now let's go back to the race you chose. Notice that you have a trait called Ability Score Increase. That one will increase some of the abilities that you just determined, so add them to your scores as the book tells you to do, and there you have it. Those are your final ability scores. And since you have the final numbers, you can also determine your ability modifiers. These will be the bonuses that you get to add or subtract to your dice rolls whenever the DM asks you to roll a certain check. Think of it like this. The ability scores are the bookkeeping number, and the ability modifiers are the actual practical bonuses that you get. There's no extra work for you here, you just have to look at this table and see what is the modifier for each of your abilities. For example, did you roll a 16 on your dexterity? Congratulations, you have a +3 dexterity modifier. Is your charisma 9? Sounds like you have a -1 modifier. From now on, you would just need to follow the book. From the race that you chose, you gain some traits and features, which is what D&D calls to powers. Write them down so you know what powers you have during play, and use them. There is really no science here, you just have to know what powers you have and use them as you will. Your race also determines your speed. It is set right there in the book, so write that down as well so you know how fast you can move during combat. As for your class, first you need to calculate your HP, which the book tells you how to do clearly. At first level, you really just need to sum a number, which varies from class to class, and add your constitution modifier. Yes, the higher your constitution, the more HP you get. Then there's a small list of proficiencies you gain from having the class that you have. Note them all down because they mean that you get to add your proficiency bonus to your dice rolls whenever you use any of those tools or weapons, etc. You will also have to choose what to get proficiency in between some skills. Skills are subdivisions of the 6 original abilities that you just calculated. For example, you may have a pretty good charisma, but you might choose to use it to smoothly persuade people or to intimidate them. These are 2 different uses of charisma. One is persuasion, one is intimidation. Decide which of these skills you want to be extra good in and write them down alongside your other proficiencies. There's also equipment to get. Each class describes what is your starting equipment, and it may even let you choose between several weapons and armors. If you're a new player, of course you're not going to know what is the difference between all the weapons and armors that exist, but to consult all the information that you need at this topic, you basically only need to read pages 144 to 149 in the book. In fact, just by looking at the summary table in page 149, you will probably get all you need. There, I just saved you another 16 pages of reading. And last but not least, there is the most important thing: your powers. Sure, the race that you chose gave you some, but the bulk of the special unique abilities that you get in D&D come from your class as you level up. Who defines you as a D&D character is about 10% your race, 40% your personality, and 50% your class. Unfortunately, there is no easy way I can summarize the feature that every class gives you, but there is a shortcut. All classes have a summarized table telling you what you gain at each level from that class, including at level 1. You just need to find that table and see what powers you get at level 1, and then look for the description of those powers below the table. And that's it! That's how you create a D&D character in less than 10 minutes. Okay, sure, it may take a little bit more than 10 minutes. After all, you still have to write everything down that I've been telling you as you go through the book, and you note down all of your abilities and features, but I'm sure that, at least conceptually, you already started to picture a character as I was speaking, right? And that's half the job done. I know that it may be intimidating to see that the character creation section in the player's handbook is 165 pages long. But that's because the PHB is a reference book, and this is what most people don't understand. You're not meant to read it cover to cover to play. You should just see in the index what parts you need, like the race or the class that you want to choose, and focus on those. That way, those 165 pages shrink down to about 15. Whenever you need to learn something new, or whenever you have a doubt about a rule or about a special feature from your class, you can always go back and see in the index what would be the appropriate page and read that information. But that's it. You're not supposed to memorize the whole thing. It's supposed to be a reference. I mean, I did read the whole thing end to end, but that's just because I was enjoying it. I found the text evocative, I enjoyed reading what options I had for character creation, but it is not by any means necessary. There is one thing that I didn't mention, which is the personality and background section. The background specifically means choosing from a set list what was the background of your character, the life they had before they became an adventurer. This is something that 5th edition included to encourage players to flesh out their characters more by giving them extra proficiencies and traits depending on their background. But it is fairly intuitive to learn just by reading the book, and it isn't absolutely necessary if you're just about to have your first D&D game and you have to create your character ASAP. By definition, it just gives you a few extra stuff. And honestly, most of the times, my players actually forget what was their background. I mean, sure, they incorporate that into their personality, but the actual traits and things that the background gives them don't really come into play that much. The personality part is simply a matter of describing your D&D character, which D&D encourages you to do by listing 2 personality traits, an ideal, a bond, and a flaw. It's fun, and one of the parts that I actually enjoy the most, but it's also fairly intuitive to do on your own, or even improvise as you play. It should also be said that the races and classes that I mentioned here aren't the only ones that there are in D&D. They are just the ones featured in the player's handbook, which is the reference. Lots of supplement books have been released ever since, with new classes, loads of new subclasses, and a myriad of new races to choose from, hairy giants to cat people, passing by half angels, Iron Man, and elephants? But those are not the core races and classes. They are by definition optional rules that some DMs might not even allow. It's important to always check with them beforehand. So if you're interested in them, by all means, investigate your heart out, but the ones that I summarize in here for you should give you a basic overall understanding of what is there and what is more common in D&D, what you should expect basically. In case this was too confusing for you and you'd like a more practical example on how to create a character from scratch step by step, or if you got the gist of it but when you tried to fill out a character sheet you felt like you needed a map, then I have just the right video for you, where I will actually create a character with you step by step while filling out a character sheet and showing you what goes where. I'm the first Arcadian Portuguese DM and also artist, writer, and manga-obsessed comic book author. And if you like what you've seen, if this video was helpful, consider making me a happier human by subscribing, clicking the bell, and sharing the video. For D&D and non-D&D art, as usual, I point you to my artist pages at The First Arcadian in Instagram and TikTok, at TFirstArcadian in Twitter. I hope you pay me a visit there. In any case, I hope that this video was helpful, and I hope to see you at the next one.